When it comes to hanging your hat in the middle of Dallas and Fort Worth, you pretty much have two choices. Should you choose Arlington or Grand Prairie? Well, stick around to find out. Hi everyone, my name is Wendy Pinnell and I am a realtor and a broker with On Track Realty, along with the husband Dale, our daughter Bree, and our son Blake. Now, we do real estate big around here, so if you're looking at real estate in Texas, I'm thinking you've come to the right place. Now, how about this choice between Grand Prairie and Arlington? And why might you feel like you need to choose between the two? Well, if one of you works like in Fort Worth and the other in Dallas, or if you find yourself commuting back and forth between the two, from a location standpoint, Grand Prairie and Arlington are awesome. But location isn't everything. So if you find yourself needing to make a choice between the two, here's some info that should help. Okay, so let's jump in with housing. In Arlington, you're mostly going to find older homes. Okay, so what do I mean by that when I say those homes in Arlington are older? We need to quantify that, right? Okay, Arlington had this huge explosion of growth right in the 70s and 80s. All right, where else have we seen that? Well, in our video in Watauga, we learned that was the same thing. Also, Duncanville, Cedar Hill, huge explosions of growth. And what happens? They become landlocked, okay? So Arlington landlocked in the 70s and 80s, so most of the homes you're gonna find there, are gonna be that older style, built in that older time frame, okay? So what does that mean? Well, first of all, it is a prime location for fixer-uppers, right? So the investors coming in there. So yeah, it's an older home, right? But might have all the bells and whistles. Kind of depends, if an investor has visited there. Also Arlington, because they're older homes, you're going to find more affordable options, okay? So kind of some perks there about Arlington. Let's talk about Grand Prairie. Well, Grand Prairie did not have that explosion of growth that Arlington did. It was built up kind of slower over the years. So what you see in Grand Prairie is you still have some new construction along the southern side. And it is nice. It's very nice, higher end new construction, right? So if you come to me and you're like, Wendy, listen, I got to choose between the two. I need Arlington or I need Grand Prairie, but I want new construction. Grand Prairie is going to be your clear choice on that, okay? Because it's just got a lot growing on that southern side. Okay, now let's just say you've got to commute both to Fort Worth, Dallas, and the airport because you travel with work and you want something really nice. You're going to find that in northern Arlington, okay? So you're going to find like rolling hills, really affluent neighborhoods, and mature trees. So if you want nicer, newer, you're going to look at Grand Prairie on the southern side. Not as many trees, right? Because it's new construction. Now, if you're okay with it being a little older, but those mature trees are really important to you, you want to be close to the airport, then you're going to look more on the northern side of Arlington. Okay, so with that being said, Grand Prairie, broad range of age. Okay, we're going to see that the median home price in Grand Prairie is higher than what you're going to see in Arlington. Okay, so Arlington, that median home price, $305,000, where in Grand Prairie, again, with that nicer, newish, shiny stuff, we're gonna see a higher median price in the $320,000 range. Okay, so that gives you a pretty good idea about housing. Let's kind of turn the corner here and talk about green space. And what do I mean by green space? Well, I'm talking about like recreation, outdoor stuff, the hiking, the biking, the lake, and I gotta tell you, a little spoiler alert here, Grand Prairie takes the cake on this one, okay? Grand Prairie has a ton of green space. First and foremost, most of Grand Prairie is alongside a lake, okay? So you have both Mountain Creek Lake and Joe Pool Lake, right? So a lot of Grand Prairie right along the lake there. So that alone is just gonna give you some real beauty. Also though, Grand Prairie was rated one of the best parks, arts, and recreation departments in the country, okay? Not just in Texas, in the entire country. They have over 5,000 acres of parks and trails, hiking, biking, right? They have access to the Cedar Hill State Park. They have Estes Park, Lloyd Park, okay? A lot to offer there. Okay, let's kind of talk about Arlington. Arlington, as big as it is, a lot bigger than Grand Prairie, has really only just one lake, has access to that one lake, Lake Arlington. And, they have some green space, like they have the very beautiful River Legacy Park, but they really just don't have they really just can't compare to what you're going to find over in Grand Prairie. Okay, on to a super important subject to many of you. Let's talk about schools. Okay, so it kind of goes without saying, right? It's pretty obvious that both of these cities are huge, okay? Grand Prairie has a population of 200,000 and Arlington's population is 400,000. So overall, both cities have a B rating from niche.com. And I said B as in boy, not D as in dog, right? And again, that's because they have both great schools, high ratings, 9s and 10s, but also some schools that have those much lower ratings. Now, let me bring up to you the really important distinction here between Grand Prairie and Arlington, okay? Grand Prairie has an open school district, okay? That is huge. What that means is that if you're in the city of Grand Prairie, you can take advantage of any school in all of Grand Prairie, right? So all you have to do is do some research, go to niche.com, go to greaterschools.org, figure out which schools are rated higher, and you can enroll your child there. Okay, so Arlington, not so much, okay? They have more the traditional, very strict zone maps, right? So if you're gonna buy in Arlington, you're gonna have to do a little research, right? I can help you with that. We can set up a great search that can be very specific to school districts, right? And so that's going to be important far more in Arlington than in Grand Prairie, okay, right? So that makes sense. One is zoned very strictly, one is completely open. And I think really that gives Grand Prairie a huge edge over Arlington in terms of schools. Okay, so that gives you a little bit to chew on regarding schools. But let's go ahead and turn the corner here. Let's talk about shopping and retail and dining. Okay, so I'm going to tell you right off the bat, Arlington has the edge on this one, okay? Now, Grand Prairie, so let's just go ahead and start with Grand Prairie. Grand Prairie does have some really nice shopping, okay? But it's mostly isolated between a couple areas, okay? It's isolated along the new highway, George Bush Tollway. You've got some nice new stuff there. And it's also, you'll see it a little bit in the southern sector, again, because we've got that new construction going on, that part of Grand Prairie that it's just lively and booming, okay? So that's, that's good. They've got a respectable amount. They have an outlet mall. That's pretty nice. Okay, but then you have Arlington. Arlington has a massive amount of retail, dining, shopping. They've just got it all. In fact, sometimes people will say, that you're 5 to 10 minutes from anything. And it's true because Arlington has that much retail, dining, and shopping, okay? So you've got your Parks Mall, you've got your Arlington Highlands. Plus, a very cool thing about Arlington's shopping and dining is you have a massive cultural diversity too. So it doesn't matter what you're in the mood for, you're gonna find it in Arlington. So really just in terms of those retail, dining, shopping, Arlington really has the clear edge over Grand Prairie. Okay, moving on. I have to tell you, both cities have some great options for entertainment. But once again, we're going to see that Arlington is the clear winner. Okay, so what does Grand Prairie have to offer? Well, they do have the Lone Star Park horse track, right? And they have the Traders Village, and they've got some pretty nice movie theaters right over there. So let's compare that to what Arlington has to offer. Well, Arlington has the Texas Rangers ballpark. They have the Dallas Cowboys Stadium. They have Six Flags over Texas. They have Hurricane Harbor. All right, so a lot there, comparatively speaking. We've got Arlington. So we got Arlington taking the edge on entertainment, dining, shopping, retail. Arlington. Okay, but let's turn the corner. Let's talk about crime for a bit, okay? Because we're going to find out here that Grand Prairie has the edge, okay? So kind of revisiting that idea that Arlington has a huge diversity. In Arlington, you can get more for your money. You have more choices in housing and shopping and dining. You also have more choices in crime areas, okay? So the property crime rate in Arlington is 17% higher than the Texas average, okay? And then the violent crime rate is 22% higher than the Texas average. Now, if we compare that, we've got Arlington over here, not such great news. Grand Prairie, okay, their violent crime is pretty much average. So they're pretty much average with the state of Texas. So, we'd love to hear that they're both, much safer. But the truth is they're not. One is much higher. Arlington has a much higher crime rate, and Grand Prairie is just kind of average. Okay, finally, let's talk about transportation. We've talked about how both cities just have that ideal location of being between Dallas and Fort Worth. But what is it like traveling in the cities themselves? Okay, with Arlington having twice the population, it's got twice as much traffic. Okay, plus think about the fact, that it has better entertainment, better dining, better shopping, right? That also goes to reason that the smaller towns are all going to flock to Arlington. Okay, so now, some people will say, again, that in Arlington, you're 5 to 10 minutes from anywhere, right? Because there's so much retail, right? Okay, so Arlington has 3 highways. It has I-20 and I-30 running east-west, okay? It also has 360 running north-south, but 360 is on the very eastern edge, okay? So it basically divides Arlington between Grand Prairie, okay? So if you're in the rest of Arlington, central Arlington, western Arlington, the not so great news is that you're going to have to deal with a lot of stoplights, right? So if you got to go from North Arlington to South Arlington, stop, go, stop, go, stop, go. No very nice, pretty, shiny, highway to jump on to get you there fast. Okay, so Arlington overall, not so great when it comes to transportation, okay? Okay, so how does that hold up to Grand Prairie? Well, Grand Prairie has the beautiful, shiny George Bush Tollway, okay? So that is just the game changer. Of course, the Grand Prairie does have 360 on its western side, but then cutting right through the middle of Grand Prairie, you have the George Bush Tollway. And let me just tell you, when it comes to traffic, that one is a game changer because you can hop right on there and get wherever you need to go a lot faster. So in Grand Prairie, you've also got I-20 and I-30, right, going east-west, but then you also have 360 here and George W. Bush. So when it comes to transportation, we're going to see, again, Grand Prairie has the edge. So you kind of get the idea here that they're really evenly split. Arlington has a lot going towards it, but Grand Prairie does too. Okay, so overall, what do you think? Again, when it comes to retail, dining, shopping, affordability, Arlington definitely has the edge over Grand Prairie. But when it comes to transportation, new construction, choice in schools, outdoor recreation, lower crime rate, Grand Prairie has the edge. So I guess what it really boils down to is what's most important to you. Okay, when it comes to housing, if you're like, hey, listen, Wendy, I have to have new construction, then Grand Prairie is the obvious choice. If you want beautiful rolling hills and mature trees, quick jaunt to the airport, you're going to find that in North Arlington. So really, it's just this super individual decision. Okay, so know what? Here's an idea. Why don't you come on down to Texas and let's go take a look. And while we're waiting for you to get here, check out the description section of this video, and fill out our Let's Find Home questionnaire. Go ahead, fill that out. That helps us get started in finding the perfect home for you. And listen, if you want to get acquainted with us in a more personal way, like read our bios, that type of thing, drop on over to our website, okay? Come over there and say hello. You ready for it? It's www.myontrackrealty.com. And hey, if you found this information helpful, hop on over to my YouTube channel. Let's get acquainted there. Of course, while you're there, hit that subscribe button and click on that little bell. There are 4 of us here all ready and waiting to help you find your dream home in Texas. Listen, in the meantime, thank you so much again for watching and have a great day.